Welcome, everyone. Today, we're going to be talking about marketing fundamentals for promoting your new project. I'm Kim Norden, and I'm the multimedia specialist at Rural Health Innovations. As you all know, Rural Health Innovations, really our main purpose is to connect you all with ideas, best practices, and resources that enhance the health of your rural communities. At the Center and Rural Health Innovations, we're committed to embedding diversity, equity, and inclusion into all the work that we do, and that guides how we deliver our technical assistance as well. The Idaho Path to Value project is sponsored by the Idaho Bureau of Rural Health and Primary Care, a part of the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare, Division of Public Health. So over the next hour, our hope is that you become familiar with the fundamental elements of marketing, gain awareness of cultural and generational considerations to best engage and communicate with your audience, discover best practices and budget-friendly tools to consider when developing messaging, using digital platforms and cross-promoting, and prepare for measuring the effectiveness of your marketing and promotional initiatives, and use that feedback to improve your programs. So one of the first steps in marketing any project is to start from the inside. The people within your organization should understand your project, know how to inform patients and visitors, their family and friends, and be able to see the benefit that it offers your whole community. So you're going to want to make sure that registration staff and volunteers know about your project, know who the contact person is, hospital, clinic, and clinic providers, the board and senior leaders. You can share this out through internal newsletters, posters in the break room, and then as well as if you have any patient or family council or advisory boards, getting them on board. Then you can start thinking about how you're going to reach out into the community. But first, you really have to understand your audience's lifestyle. So you might want to meet them where they are and in their moment of need. So if your project's main audience is kids, you might want to consider TikTok or maybe having a preview in a local movie theater, and of course your schools. If you're trying to engage older adults, you might identify the senior center or beauty salons, churches, or you might want to reach out to their caregivers and where they work and play. Language is really important, so you want to ensure that your content is culturally competent. And the last thing you want to do is offend someone. So be educated and aware of the language that you're using in all forms. Make sure that you're not using outdated language. For example, using older adults instead of seniors or elderly, or use the word elders with the Native American population. Use gender-neutral pronouns, be aware of reinforcing stereotypes like gender roles. Make sure that you're including culturally competent food when you're talking about healthy choices. Keep different socioeconomic groups in mind. Not everybody can afford a gym membership. Maybe healthy exercise for your Hispanic or Latino community includes dance and not using the elliptical. Consider your non-English speaking community too. Do you need to translate materials? Do you need translators in your classes? Do you need to consider people who are hard of hearing or those with low vision? So just learn more about the different cultures in your community. And we all know partners are a great way to reach more people. You can create a connection that really takes you out into the community and brings the community to you. So include those primary and secondary service areas, educate about the services and classes that are available and promote the resources that you have. Work as a community to increase population health, not alone. And we'll send out the recording from the Pine webinar earlier. I know many of you were already on that. And so Deb really shares some great tips and goes really deep into ways to engage partners. So some ideas for outreach may be to have a booth at fun community events, county fairs, concerts, parades, display posters at local bars or restaurants, theaters, gas stations, your large employers. Consider reaching your audience through caretakers too. So people with aging parents or parents of teens. Give radio and TV interviews. Present your program at conferences. share with other hospitals, and apply for those awards. Work with large employers in your community to set up lunch and learns for their staff. Stories are an important way to connect with audiences. So ask people with lived experiences to share their story. Ask providers and staff to share success stories. You can use videos, podcasts, and interviews to share these stories. One thing we often forget to do is celebrate the success and the outcomes of our projects. You can share your success with hospital leaders and board, staff, schools and parents. Share with partners and ask them to share that out. Share on social media and ask local celebrities to share out, or coordinate a fun event where you can celebrate and kind of share more about your program. Getting to know your audience is one of the most important things in marketing. So beyond the data, know what's happening in your community. Learn about the needs of the community. Maybe your community has recently been impacted by a teen suicide, or you know that there's an Amish community, but do you know much about the Amish culture? So assess the literacy and competency of the people in your community, create an engagement plan, and really personalize and tailor your content so that it aligns with each generation's interests and preferences. And we'll get into generations in just a moment. Keep a DEI lens throughout everything you create, and be aware of your own biases and how your project might be creating inequities. Make sure teachers, class educators, providers are educated in DEI and what resources are available, not only for your topic that your project is covering, but also how to support basic needs like food security and housing, and just really do your best to stamp out some of those stereotypes. Generations are cultures too. I'm a millennial, and I live with a Gen Z, an 11-year-old, and sometimes he's a mystery to me, but I really try my best to understand them and their motivations. Just as you would with a culture, do your research. So let's go through some examples. And I'm just putting it out here, disclaimer, these are generalizations. And similar to zodiac signs, not every baby boomer is going to be the same, etc. So getting to know these different generations can be really helpful when you're targeting your messages or projects toward a certain age group. Traditionalists, so these people would be, I can't do math, but probably in their 80s. They want to be directed, so they want to follow the doctor's directions. And their health decisions are often made by advice from their doctors or their health professionals and the quality of the service. Baby boomers, they want to be engaged. They're influenced by traditional advertising and they search for their health information online. Their decisions are made by online ratings and brand reputation. Gen X, they want to feel connected and they want to be responsible for their health decisions that impact both their parents and their children. Their decisions are made by convenience and selecting from multiple options. Millennials, they want instant information and they prefer passive forms of communication. Their decisions are often made by cost and are peer-driven. Gen Z, they are the influencers and they expect a personalized experience. They actively avoid ads and their decisions are made often by digital offerings or asking parents and friends. The tables on this slide show generational preference for communications. So you can see here, you may not be reaching your traditionalists through email communication, and a face-to-face roundtable might make millennials cringe. And then when you're looking down on the second one, you can kind of see the different methods of what works for the different generations. Interestingly, it looks like Gen Z, you could do all of those and that might work for them. So these next slides, we're going to just focus on some best practices for marketing out. So we'll cover testimonials, success stories, digital platforms, budget-friendly tools, and peer champions. So starting with these peer champions. Peer champions are a great way to get support and help promote your project. Peers are likely to already have the trust and support and can speak to their own experience with your project or your product. This could be a student or older adult that's active in the community, volunteers, works where they interact with peers, or just has a success story to share. You can feature their voices and their faces in videos, share on social media, have them speak at events, etc. And this can also take some of the burden off of your staff. So collecting testimonials. This might be a generational thing, but I love reading reviews and testimonials. When you're doing that, be intentional about collecting feedback from happy participants or even those who may have been hesitant about your project at first. This could include parents, caregivers, teachers, students, older adults, providers, or city leaders. And it's a really good way to address myths or common misconceptions. So you can share testimonials with providers, partners, educators, so they can use them to help promote and improve your program. And the website that I have on this slide here, I think just did a really good job of sharing testimonials and ratings on their website. And I'm not going to get too deep into using digital platforms, but just be aware of the different platforms and do some research on which platforms speak to your audience the best. I think the most important things you can really do with social media is to engage with your followers. So respond to comments, thank people for their support, share your partner's posts that feel relevant to your mission or that lift up the health in your community. And just remember, social media is a two-way street. And make sure that you're sharing photos and videos. People are visual creatures, and a photo can say 1,000 words. And this is a great way to engage with youth in particular. You can have people hold up signs and photos to help spread the message. Many newer phones can take great quality photos and videos. So designate someone ahead of time to take photos of events or people, and embed that into your processes so this step doesn't get forgotten. Action shots are great, but have a variety of action and post or group photos. And make sure to ask permission to use, even if you have a signed release from a parent or if your older adult signed a form in the past. It's just always good to ask permission. Things to be aware of. Parents don't like when you're marketing at their kids without them knowing first. So go to PTA meetings or sporting events and work to really empower the parents so they feel informed. You can invite parents to a presentation run through so they know what their kids are seeing. And for older adults, emphasize the ability to make their own decisions. Focus on the quality of life they want to have while being sensitive to their ability. And these next few slides, we're going to list some free and low-cost resources. I won't read through all of them, but like I said, we're going to share these slides so you can check them out after this webinar. We actually use many of these resources at the center, and so I can say they're absolutely very helpful when you don't have a full marketing team behind you and graphic designers, but they really help make things a lot easier. And just beware of copyright issues. You can't just copy an image from Google search, but these websites offer a lot of free stock images and icons. So some more. A lot of our phones help you edit images, but this slide has some image editing tools that you can check out. And these are some resources for video editing if you don't have the full Adobe Premiere package. So don't forget to track your marketing initiatives so you know what works, where to invest your dollars in the future, and so you can track your progress. So you'll want to track how people are hearing about your program. It might be a question that you ask when people engage into your project. Google Analytics, if you have website pages, take a look at how many views those are getting. Inquiry calls if people are calling, email open rates, of course, attendance at any events or classes, and survey feedback. Using feedback for improvement. So track frequently asked questions that you're getting from different audiences and address those as you promote. Discuss what's been seen or heard throughout the community in your internal meetings, and create actions that address the negatives or highlight the positives. Respond to all new ideas and take immediate action on the ideas you plan to adopt, then communicate that out into the community. So people are saying that they want to attend your falls class, but they don't have transportation. So maybe you address this issue and then promote out that now you're offering rides to classes. Or parents are concerned about a topic you're covering on abuse. So you host a meeting to address those concerns and educate on the importance of the topic. Or kids are asking for a way to talk to their parents about their mental health. So maybe you set up a presentation for teens and parents and invite your therapist to be there to answer questions. Or you got a thank you card from the daughter of one of your falls prevention participants sharing how the programs helped. So you might want to ask if it's okay to share that on social media. So just constantly having that in your mind, like how are ways that we can share out our program and the feedback of our program. This slide includes some messaging ideas for Weezer's youth project. So this might help get ahead of some potential concerns on some of your more controversial presentations by communicating ahead of time to the parents. So you might communicate to the parents by talking about the program. It's adding another trusted adult to go to with issues, or it's gonna build capacities for peace and shelter and social justice. And then we've also included some partner ideas for Caribou's Falls Prevention Program. And the whole goal of the program is to keep older adults in their homes longer and safer. So EMS and fire departments, they're the ones that are gonna go and pick people up when they fall in their homes. Public health, in many counties, they're the ones that administer the waiver dollars and programs for older adults to stay in their homes. Independent living facilities and assisted living, they want to prevent falls so they don't lose residents. Home care, they want to prevent falls so the persons they care for stay in their homes. The AA, the Area Agency on Aging, they administer funding and programs for older adults, with falls prevention being one of them. The Idaho Extension Service, often they're interested in the vitality of the older adults in your community. Durable medical equipment, they supply walkers, wheelchairs, life alerts. Faith communities and health committees, they want to keep their older congregants healthy. Adult daycare, a fall can mean they can no longer come to daycare. And then senior centers, they're focusing on keeping the older adults active. Local contractor that could perhaps help with home modifications. Or even local shoe stores or places that sell shoes and can help with getting proper footwear. So another idea would be maybe putting together a falls prevention education presentation that's 15 minutes long that can be presented around the area to local groups to promote falls prevention programs that the hospital is doing. And maybe you do a little mini training to volunteers so that your volunteers can actually go out and do this presentation. And it could actually add more credibility, and it would not burden the healthcare staff as much. So those are some ideas. That concludes my content. I know I went through that really fast, but I wanted to save time for any questions or for you all to kind of share some ideas with each other. So I'm going to pause and stop sharing and just open it up for questions or comments or feedback.
Yeah, Kim, this is Gavin. I really appreciate all those websites and those resources, because I think I know some of those that I've recognized in the past that we can definitely utilize. And then a lot of the stuff that you put on there is some things that we've already got in place as of yesterday. I think we're gonna partner with like our assisted living that's in town.
Mhm.
Some exercise programs within their like activities department to
Oh,
see what for them for those kind of have the assisted living like a trial run to see
mhm.
how it works, and then partner. We've talked to the senior living center, um, our senior center in town to see they've already offered up a space there that if we are able to get volunteers and stuff, that they at least allow us to use the space and go forward from there. So a lot of good ideas that I saw in there that we are doing, and then some great resources to help us out.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. Anyone else? Casey?
Yeah, I do have actually a question. I also appreciate all of that. One of the questions that I have is that we've run into this before. You were talking about kind of monitoring the feedback and the things that we hear once the program goes in place. Is there like a best practice or a method for, sometimes you just get the one person that is very vocal, but that's not the overall feeling maybe in that community, or and I hate to knee jerk react to, kind of a single loud voice versus like, oh, this is actually, a larger problem. Do you have any guidance for like kind of how to work through that?
I don't have the answer to that. I don't have a solution for that. I do think that it is great to respond even to those, we could call them internet trolls, that just seem to be very unhappy individuals that like to share their unhappiness with others. But I was just at a hospital in the Delta region, and they were kind of talking about, in the past, they had gotten many of those comments on their Facebook page, and kind of through the years, as they were starting to really address some of the issues that people were unhappy about, they noticed that they're actually getting a lot more positive comments on their page. And so even if there's that one voice, if you can reach out to your friends or your family, or have staff respond and bury that awful comment with positive comments. And yes, it might look as though, okay, all of the people with the positive comments are staff and we know they're friends of Casey. But I think eventually, like, that's going to help people get comfortable with then supporting the hospital or saying, hey, you guys are doing great work. So unfortunately, I don't really have the answer to that. But if anybody else has experienced that or has any tips for how to address that unhappy person. And that's a great question. So I'll do a little bit more research, and I know we also work with a marketing company here, so I can ask that question and see if I can find Casey. Any other questions? Or Gavin, do you have any tips for Casey as she's going to start embarking on the same program that you are doing in your community?
Fortunately for us and unfortunately for them, I guess we haven't had any of those loud voices. Fortunately, at least that I'm not aware of. When we got into the schools, the hardest part was getting our leadership kind of on board. And once we got them, the schools really were good with it. And I don't know if it's a parent or school, but pretty much the health teacher that we do with the class, we do the health teacher and then a home ec teacher that we do for our days that we go. And both of them are very, very open-minded, very involved. I haven't heard any feedback from parents on of the content that we are teaching the kids. So yeah, hopefully it works out well for you guys in Weiser, but we haven't had to deal with that. Trying to think tips and tricks. I can say, I don't know so much a tip. The kids, we do candy every single time. They love it. So I highly suggest Candy to keep them involved. Yeah, it's been really good. Every school year, every once in a while, we will have we do about 7 classes. I think there's 8 periods in a day, so we have about 7 classes we teach, and there's usually that 1 or 2 classes that they don't listen, they don't pay attention at all, and we just have to realize that, okay, there's just going to be some groups of kids that just don't want to hear it, but we do have enough there that listen to it and actually enjoy being there and participate. So I don't know, maybe that's one thing, is don't get discouraged when there's going to be those groups of kids that just don't give a crap, because there's going to be, for sure.
I appreciate
I was
that.
going to add to that.
It's definitely true.
So if I could add to that too, we also include like interactive things with the presentation. So for drugs and alcohol, we'll get like the drunk goggles and let them do like an obstacle course in the hallway. Or we did one on dehydration for summertime, and we kind of talked about like healthy eating habits. And so we made smoothies with veggies in them, and they really liked that as well. So just like little things that you can incorporate that makes it more interactive than just a presentation.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Definitely keep their attention spans. Thank you.
Yeah, those are great ideas. And I know my son, who's 11, I always ask about his teachers, and he's always like, well, my favorite teacher is this person because they give candy. So yes, candy might be key. I should have had a whole slide on candy. So Bingham and North Canyon, do you have any questions about, I don't know if you're at a place where you're ready to kind of communicate out or in, but do you have any questions, or have you run into any sort of struggles as you're educating people in your programs?
I don't know, we're still kind of at the beginning, where we are actually, we have one of our groups is working on an education plan for our project. So, so far so good. It's just at the beginning.
Yep. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, generally, yes.
Oh. I was just gonna say, we've mainly been internal for right now for the program that we're trying to go and set up, but it will be definitely reaching out to the community very, very soon. So thank you for the tips. And I think a lot of it is applicable even inside your own teams too.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I know this was 30 minutes instead of 60 minutes, but I know you're very busy and you've already sat through one webinar today with us. Oh, Stephanie, I noticed that you are on here. I didn't even say hello, but if there's anything that you'd like to say, feel free.
No, I just want to make sure I'm not double muted. No, thank you. This is actually really helpful. I was going to echo what Gavin said, and it just really helps to have those links and those resources. And then, like I said this morning, I really hope that you guys are leveraging each other throughout these opportunities and making those connections, because I think sometimes we just, you're kind of tunnel vision and you're in it and you forget to look up and realize that there's others that have done this as well. So I hope that you're leveraging each other as you're kind of going through these projects. And I just really enjoy the resources that you guys are providing, Kim. So thank you so very much for that.
Yeah. And so speaking of sharing with each other, we do have a peer sharing call on June 16th. So hopefully we can share some more tips and tricks and celebrate some success at that June 16th meeting. And then another reminder just to get all of your action planning templates into us. Kiona, I think they're going to by July 1st. And so thank you everyone for your time. We will we will be sharing the slides for both of today's webinars and the recording. And hopefully we can get that out to you by tomorrow. So All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful afternoon.